We're stocking up and saving money. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Welcome back to our channel, and thanks for watching. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of our uploads. And don't forget to smash that like button as well if you feel like leaving us some positive energy. We greatly appreciate it. I've got another prepper pantry haul to share with you today, but first, let's talk about what's going on at the grocery store. This is what's going on at my local Walmart. I've seen a lot of empty shelves, gaps, and even whole areas basically empty. I've heard from folks in many different areas. Some of you haven't seen any shortages at all, but lots of people are seeing what I've been seeing. Shortages, but it's sporadic. I believe this is because what we're seeing is less a result of actual shortages of all these items and more the result of a massive breakdown in the supply chain at every level imaginable. So number one, things are not being produced and packaged at the rate that demand is calling for. And two, products are not able to be transported efficiently to where they need to go. Sure, we have seen some true shortages due to crop failures and short harvests brought on by natural, often weather or climate-related factors. We have seen drought decimate tomato crops, an unseasonable freeze in Brazil damaging their coffee crop, a fungus endangering banana crops in Central America. But for the most part, everything we are seeing is due basically to a catastrophic breakdown of the global supply chain. It's being hit at every level. From pandemic-related restrictions, shortages of packaging materials like aluminum and carbon dioxide, to shortages of shipping containers, rail cars, and tractor-trailer trucks, as well as shortages of human laborers to physically move products. Now we're seeing a massive bottleneck of cargo ships in the ports unable to be unloaded like they should be. The latest? An energy rationing crisis in China where everything is controlled by the state. Factories shutting down to satisfy energy use requirements. I've heard of people working in factories by candlelight. It's such a multifaceted problem. We could literally sit here for hours rehashing all the reasons. But what it all boils down to is this. Gone are the days, I believe, at least for the foreseeable future, that we can take for granted being able to walk into the grocery store and get everything we need when we need it. The most optimistic forecast I've seen is mid-2023 before the supply chain returns to some semblance of normalcy. And that's best case scenario. But look around you. For the last year and a half, 2 years, have we gotten the best case scenario? No, we've had more like the perfect storm, and it's only getting worse. Now, I don't say any of this to scare you, but rather because everyone should be aware of what's going on so they can prepare. Because we are all better off if everyone starts out on a level playing field and no one has to panic. So now on to my haul. This haul was completely from the clearance section of my store. I always have people asking me, how is one supposed to prepare when you barely squeak by from week to week as it is? Believe me, I completely hear that. I feel very blessed right now to be able to pick up a little extra, but I've definitely been in that position. The clearance sections of the stores are always great to help you get more for less. If you can find something for half price, for example, you can afford to pick up an extra to set aside. Second, take anything you can get for free. I've seen folks on my Facebook clean out their pantries and offer up things their family won't eat to their Facebook friends. If you use any of the couponing apps like Ibotta, they often have free items. If you're not using these apps yet, I'll add links to a few of the ones I use most down in the description box. However you have to do it, even if it's just one item at a time, it's important to build a supply of the things you use regularly because it's becoming quite clear. You can no longer count on walking into a store and finding everything you need on the shelves. So think about your staples in your diet that are shelf stable because that's different for every person and every family. Pick up a few extra whenever you see them. And come up with shelf-stable alternatives to the perishable items that you use. There are powdered milks and eggs and butter that are actually very good. Buy canned version of meats if you can tolerate them, or freeze-dried meats if you don't care for canned. Stock ingredients so that you can make your own bread if necessary. Do not leave yourself and your family at the mercy of a faltering system. So I didn't even intend to get any preps on this particular shopping trip. I took my youngest daughter to the store to pick up a few things she needed for school. Shopping with me is kind of like if you give a mouse a cookie. I decided to glance at my list so I could grab a few things since I was already at the store. My list reminded me that I wanted to keep an eye on the tomato products, so I headed in that direction. On the way, I noticed the canned fruit and remembered I wanted to bump up our stores of that, one fruit at a time. So I grabbed a case of pears because that's our family's favorite. Then I got to the canned tomatoes and saw that they had some petite diced in stock, so I grabbed a case of those. Then I headed to do my customary sweep of the clearance aisle before we left the store, because I always do that. And it was like I hit a gold mine. There were so many awesome deals on things that we regularly use, But I quickly noticed they had many cases of the exact two items I had already grabbed, the pears and tomatoes. I was confused trying to figure out the difference between those on the clearance and those that I had picked up in the regular aisle. Even the employee who was stocking the shelves in the aisle heard me muttering to myself and got curious and came over to help me figure it out. We eventually found it was just a few minor packaging changes and a fresh barcode. They had changed the packaging, so they had put all the old stock on clearance. That was great for me. I went and put back the full price cases and grabbed extra of the clearance cases because they had plenty, and it would save me money in the long run since we use those products regularly. So let's see what all I found. Alright guys, so let's get into it. This was an awesome haul. I was so excited to find all this stuff on clearance. We got a little change of scenery here because we were having some issues with the microphone where I was standing before to record, so we're going to try this and see if this is any better. So here is what we got in this haul. This was all Walmart, all clearance, and this is some awesome stuff. So let's start over here. I got a couple of these soba noodles marked down to $2. I have not really used these much before, but they have a shelf life of about a year, and I've got some recipes that call for those, so we'll give those a try. I found one packet of tuna for 25 cents, so that was awesome. That would be great to pack in one of our bug out bags. Cilantro lime ready rice. I like to have these ready rice because it's already cooked, and I love cilantro lime, so I have some plans for this. I'm gonna probably incorporate these into some emergency meal kits, and I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, and they were $1.50, down from $1.98. And before anybody says it, I did not clear the shelves. They had tons of this stuff, so I did leave some on the shelf for other people. Next, I got a bunch of bottles of this Rachel Ray balsamic drizzle. We use a lot of this, and I had run out and I couldn't find it, and I guess that's why, because my store was getting rid of it. So I got some for $3, which was not an amazing price, but we do love this and we use a lot of this. We use it mostly on like caprese salads with basil and tomatoes that come out of the garden. And I did find some at one other store that was marked down to $2. So some of these I paid $3, some of these I paid $2. Next, I got a bunch of dried beans that were on clearance. Well, this is the 15 bean soup, and this was not super cheap. I think it was about $2 for these, but these are great because they come with the seasoning packet. My grandmother used to make these all the time, and these are super tasty. I found a couple bags of navy beans for $1 and 4 bags of black-eyed peas for $1. Now I think you can do, these are 1-pound bags. I think you can do a little bit better if you buy a really big bag of beans, but only a couple, you can only get certain ones in the really big bags, like pinto beans I think are the only ones I've gotten in a really big bag, which makes it pretty cheap. So next, let's see. So next I found these Del Monte corns, a whole kernel corn with natural sea salt. I had to check and make sure these were not the no salt added kind, because I probably wouldn't get those no matter what kind of a deal they were, because we don't really like those very much. But these are cases of 6 cans, and they were marked down from $5.78 down to $2, and this is for the name brand. So that was basically 6 cans for $2, 3 cans for $1 is cheaper than what I would pay for the store brand. So to get the name brand for that cheap, that's the type of price we usually wait for, like a once-a-year sale at Dollar General. The only way I probably could have done better on this is if I would have had some coupons, but I got, I did pick up, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11 cases of these, because we would pretty often use 2 cans in one meal. Like when we make our cream cheese chicken chili, I usually make a double batch, so I would use 2 cans of corn. So we'll go through that pretty quickly. And then I found the pear halves, and this was one of the items that I had picked up a couple of cases already in the regular aisle, and then I found these in the clearance aisle for 75 cents down from 98. And the only difference in these couple of things that I had picked up in the regular aisle and then I found them in the clearance aisle, they changed the packaging. If you look at the packaging, it was a little bit different. And now this is something to note on these pear halves. These are the older cans. These were 14.5 ounces, and I did notice the new cans that they have are 15 ounces. Now I know we hear about shrinkflation all the time, and I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. We see it happen. It absolutely does happen. But in this case, they actually increased the size of the can of pears slightly. But I did, because these were marked down, I had gotten 2 cases of the regular, and I ended up putting those 2 back and grabbing 3 cases of the clearance ones. And like I said, they still had plenty on the shelf. They had a ton of this. And then we've got the petite diced tomatoes. This was another one that was on clearance. If you see, these were 50 cents, regularly 64, and I did get 2 cases of these. I think I had picked up 1 case in the regular aisle, and I put it back and grabbed 2 cases of the clearance. And I thought that I had maybe solved the mystery of why the Great Value tomato products have been so absent in my store, because I know they're talking about tomato shortages, but I was surprised to see it so quickly in my store. And when I saw that they had changed the packaging on some of their products, I thought, well, maybe that's why they did not have them in stock for a while. So maybe now things will be better. But lo and behold, the next time I went to the store, I went down the tomato aisle, and this is what I saw. So that was not the reason for it. Now here I do have a few random things that were just marked down because of the packaging being damaged. So this can of cranberry sauce, it's whole berry cranberry sauce, and we prefer to have the jellied, but we'll use this. You can see the label is a little bit worn away and peeled, and that's really the only thing wrong with this can. And because of that, they took 32 cents off the can. So I did grab that. These water chestnuts, we do use these. We have one recipe in particular that we like to make around the holidays that uses the water chestnuts. 20 cents off because the can was dented. Now, whenever I do get cans that are marked down because they're dented, I usually do not put them right back all the way to the back of the rotation. I'll usually use those sooner because you never know if the seal might have been somewhat compromised by being dented. And I don't buy them if they're super, super dented, or if they're really damaged around, you know, the part of the can where the seal would be. But as long as they're just a little bit dented, it's not that bad. I will buy those and just use them faster. I did grab this, another seasoning kit. I got a bunch of these a while back, you might have seen. And I do love to have seasonings on hand because, you know, this can make, it's got sauces, seasonings to make a complete meal. This was marked down to $2, so it wasn't amazing, but we'll definitely use that. Now here in the back, you can see I got a couple of canisters of oatmeal. These are the old-fashioned oats, and they were marked down because they are dented, kind of like the cans were. And I was able to see that the containers are not compromised. Nothing broke through to where air could get in and out of those. And they will be repackaged because you don't want to store for long term in these cardboard canisters. So I figured that was worth saving 61 cents on these things of oats. And then the other things that I got, this is mostly a lot of outdoor bug spray and sunscreen. And this is a great time of year to stock up on this stuff at a discount because it's the end of the season and they're getting rid of stuff. Most of this stuff was around $1 for, this is a glow spray, but it does have an SPF 50, so I don't mind glowing. This was interesting. I had not even seen this before. Hair and scalp spray sunscreen, which is really awesome because I always get sunburned on the part of my hair. And this is something that people don't always think about, but if there is an emergency, especially a long-term grid down emergency, and we're not able to get to the store and buy the things we're accustomed to buying, you're going to be outside a lot more. You're going to be, you know, working outside. You're going to be gardening. You're going to be cutting wood. You're going to be doing all these things. So you don't want to be getting too much sunburn. Now, I know there is an expiration on sunscreen, obviously. I just try to stay a little bit ahead of it, a year or two ahead of it. Have some built up. This saves us money also. I don't have to pay regular price for this stuff as we're using it. And I have enough to last a year or two if we were to get into a situation where we were not able to get more. I also got sunburn relief. This is with aloe and lidocaine. I do use that. This bottle was more, I think this was $5, but I did the math and it was cheaper to buy that bottle than it was to buy, you know, that amount of the smaller bottles. And then the bug spray, you definitely want to have this kind of stuff because if you're going to be outside a lot, like I said, you'd want to make sure that you're not going to be getting sicknesses, illnesses that are carried by mosquitoes and by ticks. So having some bug spray is very important, and this is a good way to save money. We will use this, and I actually don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think that DEET and bug spray would expire the way that sunscreen would. And even so, with the sunscreen, you know, even after its expiration, I am pretty sure that it's still going to work for a while, just like anything else. And also, as it starts to get older and past that expiration date, probably it will diminish in its effectiveness, but it's not going to be just completely worthless as soon as the expiration date passes, just like anything else. And then the last thing that I did pick up was these, a few pairs of work gloves and gardening gloves, because these were also a good deal. I think I paid $3.90 for a couple of these and $2.79 maybe for some other ones. These are important to have, like I said, if you're in an emergency, if it's a short-term emergency, a storm or something like that. You may be moving debris, you may be doing a lot of cleanup outside, you may have broken glass and limbs that you might have to move. And if it's a long-term grid down situation that you're in, you're going to be doing a lot of outdoor work, like I said, gardening, cutting wood, building, repairing. So it's going to be important to have ways to protect your hands. So we'll have extra pairs of gloves around, and this will also save us money, because anytime that I can buy things at the end of the season on clearance to have to use later, that's going to save us money. And that's really why I love to do this. So that's it, guys. I was very happy to find all this stuff because, like I said, this is stuff that we do use and we will use. And it's all things that are shelf stable and will last as long as it takes us to use them up. So this is going to save us money. It's going to help us be more prepared for any emergency that might arise, but it's also just going to save us money in the long run. So that's why I do what I do. So there's one more area of things that I did pick up in this clearance haul that I did not show for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're not really typical prepper survival type of items. They're not, you know, necessary items to survive an emergency. They're more like health and beauty type of items, personal care. And the other reason I'm not showing them is because I am prepping them for something. I'm saving them for Christmas. And that brings me to another important point. I've been hearing a lot of chatter, people saying you need to do your Christmas shopping early because there's going to be a lot of things that just aren't on the shelves when it comes time for Christmas shopping. I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to this. My kids are really getting too old for toys, so I wasn't really worried about this particular subject. But I was in my store the other day and I was near the toy section, and for some reason I glanced down a couple of the toy aisles, and I was actually really surprised at how much empty space were in those toy aisles. So at our store, we are already seeing that. And it's not just going to be toys, things like electronics. I mean, that's a lot of the things that are being produced over in China right now with the factories that are having to shut down because their energy is being rationed. So if you have not started your holiday shopping, I know a lot of people already do shop ahead of time and get things out of the way. But if you haven't, this would be the great year to start doing things ahead of time, because you never know what the situation is going to be like, you know, down the road when it gets to be December. The other thing is that you'll spread out your financial burden anyways doing it this way, and you will avoid the mad rush of the last minute shoppers. So either way, it's a win-win. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.